Okay.
So we're joined from Savannah, Georgia, by our friend former Miss Black Savannah. There with the Chatham County area transit, graduate of Spelman College, graduate of Auburn University, Ambria Berksteiner. We thank you so much for joining us again this year. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our computer science engineering classes in Madison County schools and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us, especially during Black History Month, where I know your operation one STEM at a time there in Savannah really has a great partnership with the Black History Month here this month of February.
Yes, yes, I'm excited to be here. It took me a little jump through hoops and whatnot to get to you guys this year, but I'm here. And I'm just very, very grateful. And you're right, it is Black History Month, and I'm always excited to talk to you in your class. And yeah, with Operation 175 has been doing some great things, and we have a lot of expansion coming this year, and I'm very excited.
Well, obviously, we want to get into that, but take us back to the beginning about you're from Savannah, that went to the great HBCU Spelman College, and then went to the great SEC PWI Auburn. So you had a great educational experience with two very very well-rounded institutions,
Mm-hmm.
but both of them offered a different environment. So talk a little bit about that college experience from the all-girls HBCU to the very large SEC PWI.
Okay, well, um, first I actually didn't know I was going to Spelman until like I won't say the last 2 minutes, but I wasn't sold just yet, and it wasn't until I went to Spellbound. That's actually our name that we give in Mid Students Weekend. And I just saw the sisterhood and the love, and being around a group of women, our campus of women that look like you, and that want to succeed, and everybody's thriving, everyone's valedictorian, and everyone's straight A student, and have these hopes and dreams. I want to be these Supreme Court justices, these lawyers, these doctors. So it's very great. It's very motivating. It's not a competition at all on campus. It's very much so an uplifting environment. And it definitely motivates you to be the best that you can be because someone around you is always striving to just, be the best, if not better, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. And so for those of you that do not know, like Mr. Greg said, um, Spelman is an HBCU founded for women, particularly women of color, but all types of women that go to Spelman College. And Spelman changed the trajectory of my life. When you enter through Spelman's gates, you're given the charge, a choice to change the world. And so, I don't know if I'm talking to 17 or 18-year-olds right now, but if you are, in that transition from high school or about to be in that transition from high school to college, that can be a big ask, or something, a big question or reflection to ask a teenager, because you're still a teenager. And you think about, what it is, what does that mean, the choice to change the world? How am I possibly going to do that? And you don't realize that whatever you're doing now, or whatever you're doing to make your place a better place or to help others, that is your choice to change the world. Like he was saying, through Operation One STEM at a Time, I realized, okay, this is my choice and I'm changing the world through this organization. So Spelman really helped with my confidence and just aligning my goals and visions, along with having like my mentors kind of guide me along the way, and just having awesome professors and having Black women teaching me science, technology, engineering, and mathematic concepts, and philosophical classes, and having these deep discussions. It's really a magical place. I call it a bubble because when you leave, you won't ever get that type of environment ever again. So, like I said, if I'm talking to students that are considering Spelman or that are just about to go to, off to institutions for school, just soak up your college years because that's where you're going to be groomed in a good way, and you're going to have so much knowledge and wealth, well, a wealth of knowledge, excuse me, available at your fingertips for free. Well, you're paying for college, but still for free. Through just, those experiences. Auburn was different. So you're going from, just to give you guys the scene, you're going from Atlanta, this predominantly Black school institution, and also this city, and you're going from a very urban area to a predominantly white institution in the middle of, I won't say the middle of nowhere, but Auburn is very much a
You could
college
say the middle of
town.
nowhere because it's just like Starkville with
It is.
Mississippi State. Auburn and Mississippi State are very similar
Uh-huh.
schools in their offerings, And Starkville's in the middle of nowhere. I hate
Yes.
to offend my Mississippi State fans, but it's true. Auburn is the same way. It is the middle of nowhere. So you can say the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. And honestly, Savannah, Auburn makes Savannah look like the big city. Well, Savannah is a metro area in Georgia. I think we actually are the second biggest outside of Atlanta. But, just going from one environment to the next, and it's so quick, such a quick change. Very much so had imposter syndrome. Not, knocking it PWIs. I had a great time at Auburn as well. I found communities to thrive in. I would say, of course, being that it's a PWI, they had a lot of programs geared towards minority students and helping them succeed, especially in the engineering program. But it's kind of hard, I would say. It was harder for me because, Spelman at most 40-ish people in the class if you're taking the lecture style class. And at maybe even 100 if you're taking like a freshman style course. But excuse me, if you are at Auburn, you're literally at the sea of like 200 people sometimes. You never have to worry about registration though at an institution like that because there's always a spot for school for class. But just going from that type of environment to Auburn and then also engineering, it was hard. Not even gonna lie, it was hard. There are some classes I had to take over. I have no problem saying I failed electrical engineering bad, very badly, my first time taking it. And it's just, you just have to learn how to find your rhythm. I would suggest, and I wish I probably would have done this before I got to Auburn. I wish I would have probably like found a summer program or maybe try to take a class in the summer just to kind of get acclimated, but maybe just take one course to just kind of like get comfortable with the idea of Auburn and already had that head start. So when I got there in August or September, I wasn't smacked. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Learning in the campus, learning people. I would have been already kind of like a heads up. And summer school is very much promoted at Auburn. At an HBCU and the smaller schools, it's not really promoted. It's like, okay, spring and summer. So that was the beauty of Auburn. So you can kind of go to school year
But that's a
round.
very, very good point. Very, very good point. Now, and a couple things before we talk about your engineering background is we've actually had some Madison County Schools alums go to Spelman, and also there's I guess it's brother school Morehouse, which is the all boys school right across the street, which are both great institutions. But also when you talk about Auburn and these large PWIs, I went to LSU and Southern Miss, and we have some schools here that have huge amount of students, but you are right. There is nothing to prepare you for the amount of people that you are around.
Yes.
And then a place like Auburn, a place like Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU, some of these larger schools here, you're going to be around people from all over the world, and you're going to have to learn to adjust quickly to work with people from other cultures. Now, you would also at Spelman and Morehouse as well, but it's just on a much smaller scale. But I do think that's a great point of we have some great HBCUs here in Mississippi, here in the area, Tougaloo, Jackson State, just in the Jackson area that do offer, Jackson, Jackson State is kind of leading the way right now on electrical engineering, and they've kind of really opened some doors on that. But I think you also made a great point on, these college experiences are there not only for your education, but for you to network. Because I know your networking has, and we'll talk about this in a second, has opened some great things for you. Because even if you are CWI, for example, at Auburn, you were very involved in NSBE. Mississippi State, LSU have great NSBE chapters, which is the National Society of Black Engineers. So, and even if you don't want to go in engineering, because I know everybody that sees this may not want to be in engineering.
It's still a good organization to just, like you said, have under your belt.
Yeah, but no matter where you go to college, no matter what you major in, find things to get involved in, because you could have a perfect GPA, but if you don't know people and don't network, you're not going to get a job. So I'm, obviously the GPA and academic side is extremely important, but at the same time, you have to find your place and find a way to network and get your name out there. Now, you got a master's in industrial engineering at Auburn. And that was your big platform when you had the opportunity to be Miss Black Savannah, and you got to do a lot of things in the Savannah and the state of Georgia. And it's led to your current career and your nonprofit, one STEM at a time. So talk a little bit about how that experience and that degree in engineering, because there's not a lot of female engineers of any race. And you were able to really be a unicorn in that field, show how engineering education is important, engineering careers are important. and you use that platform to reach a lot of people there in Georgia.
Hmm. Like you said, being that unicorn is a blessing and a curse at the same time because you have people that are reaching out to you to provide you with that help or that extra push on that mentorship. However, you don't have someone else to lean on because there's very few people that look like you. I think Black people, if we're talking about African Americans in the engineering field, I think we make up maybe like 11%. My numbers may be off, 11%. And then if we're talking about Black women, it's like 10%. So very out of 100, this is very small. It's like a handful in a sea of people. And it can get. Oftentimes, I have to tell myself, okay, like first, let's start with if I had to answer the question, mentorship. The only reason I became an internship, the only reason I became an engineer is because I had mentors around me. I don't know if Mr. Greg or you guys can tell, I really love to speak. I love communications. I think that's why I kind of like networking works for me because I really thought I was going to be a news anchor of some sort. I thought I was going to be our local newswoman here, Dawn Baker. And so I thought that I was going to be the next Dawn Baker, and I thought I was just going to be on someone's TV screen our journalism in some sort of way. And I was in this program called the Engineering or the Explore Post program, and they had a component for communications. And so I was like, oh, this is great. Let me sign up. My mentor called me later that day, I think, or the next morning, and was like, hey, or the advisor of the program, this program is full. I'm so sorry, but based off of your grades and kind of what else you said you wanted to do, because I was interested in like design and like putting things together, puzzles, etc. She was like, "Oh, you should really do the engineering Explore Post program and just do it because we need more people. It's only like a handful and we need more girls." And I was like, I don't know. And if I didn't have a mother in my life or a mentor, I still talk to Ms. Barbara Fuller this day. She was over the program and she's on my board for Operation One still now. And if I did not have certain people in my life to push me, I would have said no. And who knows where Ambria Berksteiner would be without that. I think I was in that program for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So like my 11th grade year and my 12th grade year changed the trajectory of my life. I was an explorer. Instead of an intern, they called her an explorer. I was an explorer at the Thomas and Hutton. I don't know if they call themselves, I'm sorry, Thomas and Hutton, if you're watching this, contracting firm or a civil engineering firm. But it's a firm here in Savannah, and they deal with a lot of like large projects, mostly like civil engineering stuff. I was taught surveying or how to read blueprints. I learned about like storm and drainage like issues, and you really don't. I always say exposure leads to expansion. One of my board members said that to me, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to take that with me now." And I speak because it's true. A lot of times people say, "Oh, these children are interested in these," or "Oh, sometimes these." Just being honest, these Black children aren't interested in these topics. Are these types of careers? Or oh, women are interested in these topics. Girls are interested in these careers. No, we have not. We have not been exposed, and therefore we can't expand. You can't be interested in something you've never been introduced to. And so that is what I always credit that I had that opportunity to be exposed. You've always hear about, okay, you doctor, lawyer, engineer. I knew about engineering, but I didn't know about engineering, like what all it entailed. So definitely start there. In high school, you have a great mentor right here. Just to pick it, soak
Pageant.
up every ounce. Am I saying it wrong?
Yeah, everybody does though. It's fine. That's Pageant.
Okay, you see, I switched from Mr. Greg because I wasn't sure. But you have mentors like Mr. Paget and just these teachers around you that want to see you succeed. And even though they're getting on to you and stuff like that, what they're saying in 10 years, because I was in high school 10 years ago and it goes by very quickly, it is very true, and please listen to them. And you're getting all this again, this stuff for free. So utilize that. Find someone. If you think maybe you want to be a veterinarian, people love. I don't want to say flattery, but people love when they get to pour back into other people. So find your local veterinarian. Say, hey, can I shadow you for a Saturday or so, or a Friday? Your school actually probably would excuse you for that day just to go and soak up life experience. So find someone that's willing to pour into you. I was poured into, so I'm able to pour into others. So that is what you should do. Now when we're talking about my engineering experience, so I went into STEM in the fall of 2013 as a dual degree engineering major, and so from there I was a math major, general science at Spelman, and so I was there for about 4 years. Again, mentorship. I probably could have done. There's a lot of things I probably could have done differently at Spelman, just being more involved. But when you're, I was in choir. Choir took up a lot of time, but also your studies take up a lot of time, especially when you're in a program like that, because you have to get done at a certain time to transfer it over to your engineering school. So if I had to do it again, I probably would have did time management. That is very important. Time management in order to like fit other organizations in there. So that's never going to go away. That's going to be with you for the day you die. Time management. But I was in something called the Georgia Power Women in Engineering mentorship program, and so that I still talk to my mentor, Miss Melody Welch. She was an electrical engineer, and she went to Mississippi State. Yes, she
Yep.
did, Miss Melody Welch. And I still keep up with her. We don't talk every day, but she's still, hey, Ambria, how are you doing? Hey, this is what's going on in my life. Mentorship. Just having her in my life as well in the college section of my life, and just again latching on to professors. When you get to college, find that professor that's willing to take the extra mile to just say, hey, come to office hours. Hey, come to my lab and learn about this research opportunity, or hey, come to this event and meet this person. When you were talking about networking, not downplaying my education at all, but I really feel as though networking and having that opportunity to be Miss Savannah really set the tone. Because, okay, most students, you network in college, but some people don't utilize, they don't really, they just say, okay, my professor told me to go to this career fair, so I'm just going. No, I think I had an advantage because I started networking. Well, I was kind of really pushed. Again, my mother, when I was Miss Savannah, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I know I'm all over the place, but it's gonna make sense. When I was Miss Savannah, I wasn't shy, but I didn't understand the importance of networking. And so my mom was like, okay, literally, this is the story that's gonna help you. Every week or every couple of weeks, we would open the Savannah Tribune, the Black newspaper here, and the Savannah Morning News. And my mom said, we're going here, we're going there, we're going here, we're going there, to make sure, I was promoting myself and my crown and my title. I was just like, oh, I'm tired. Why are we going here? Blah, blah, blah. But here I was networking around my city during my breaks at 21, 20, 20 to 22, because I was doing pageants for a couple of years. And honestly, some of those connections I made, 29 now, 6, 7 years ago, had helped me tremendously. Just to put it in perspective, I have not really officially applied for a job yet because of my networking. If that makes sense, like people knew,
Yeah.
okay, Ambria's great in this. Let me just bring her on. I mean, of course, you have to apply, like go through the official stuff, but I would say the initial talks of me just coming into certain places and rooms was just because they knew me from other places, or because people said, "Oh, word of mouth. Let me talk or reach out to Ambria." I remember she did cinema. I remember she, did speaking engagements, et cetera, et cetera. So, I, yes, academics is important, but also remember, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is very real as you get older as an adult. So network now. You can network now. If your teachers, I have elementary teachers that remember me because my mom and my parents were so influential in my educational endeavors that I literally, sorry, the educational endeavors that I literally, had people that supported me, and they knew like my parents, and like, hey, I'm like how many years removed from like K through 12, but I still have people that, oh, you were doing this in the third grade, you were doing that. So they'll remember you. So go ahead, and while you still have this, maybe a couple of months left, if I'm talking to seniors, or if you have like a year left, etc., make the most of it. Get involved. It's not too late. You can still kind of jump in there. And then same thing with Auburn. So jumping into National Society of Black Engineers, I was a program chair. And so, oh gosh, you would think that's fun. Like, I mean, it was fun, but I had a big responsibility because at Auburn, we had a really big budget for clubs. I learned that. And so here I was, program chair, because they liked how I kind of like, was creative with things and put things together. And I had like as a college student, I was responsible for thousands of dollars and putting on these events and things like that. So again, because they saw what I did in Savannah and in my community, in Miss Savannah, et cetera, et cetera. So just use up the opportunity. I have worked for free sometimes. If you can avoid that, try to. But sometimes it's great to gain that shadow experience, gain that experience, and just say, hey, I'm just gonna go shadow them and talk to them, and oh, I'll do this for free, because ultimately, you have some people that get degrees from life experience. So life experience is really good. And let's see if I can add something to that. It's okay to be social. Scale it back though. Remember what you came there for. Start every year, every quarter off with um, just a list of goals. When I was in college, my mom would write things down, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna put things on my phone. No, write it down. I don't know how spiritual you all are, but there's literally a scripture that says, "Write the vision, make it plain." So write what you want to do down, have it together, have some goals under that. How am I going to get that? How am I going to accomplish that, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll be on your way. There's still networking things and navigating ways that I'm learning as an adult. But it's funny because people are asking me, the 28, 29-year-old, there are people that are older than me, how do you know them? How did you get in this room? I actually just went to a Kamala Harris event a couple of days ago in Savannah. People are like, older people, how did you get that? How did you figure that out? So we're just like, oh, just get invited because of the relationships. Relationships are very important socially and in the workplace. And I hope that answers the question because I know that was kind of
Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about exposure because you're not much older than these kids. But even with my grandmother, there was a time when women were very limited on what they could do in this country, no matter what color they were. I mean, when my grandmother's 94. When she was coming up, a woman had three choices of what they could, or four choices. They could be a teacher, they could be a nurse, they could be a secretary, or a stay-at-home mom, and that was it. So the face of these careers is changing, and it has changed, and it's going to continue to change. So one thing, and you talk about exposure, even if these kids don't want to go to college, because we have some that, I just want to do community college, I want to learn a trade. There's several great careers in these engineering fields that maybe just require 1 or 2 year certification. We have engineering and robotics academies on campuses at our schools in Madison County schools. They can get engineering robotics certifications. They can get digital animation certifications. We got a digital media academy. So the skills needed and these jobs that are needed are changing. And it is, I agree, 100% about exposure. And we have great programs in Mississippi here in Jackson outside of the school. Also, we have the Bean Path Makerspace. I got to get you in touch with her. Natalie Cephas done at the Bean Path in Jackson. And also we have a chapter of NOMA here in Jackson as well. So I agree 100% on that. Now, real quick, before I get to the students' questions, just tell us real quick about, you focused on industrial engineering. There's several areas of engineering you can focus on because there's so many ways you can go with it. But you chose to focus on industrial engineering, and you deal with a lot of transportation projects now. So, talk a little bit about what that actually does and why it's so important.
Okay, so industrial engineering, kid you not, the first day of my first real engineering class at Auburn, the teacher wrote on the board efficiency. When you are an adult, people do not care how it gets done as long as you do not waste their money, you don't waste their time. So that is the two number one things that you will learn as an adult when you are working for someone. How can I get this done in the cheapest way possible in the shortest amount of time? And that is what people want to find out. And so that's really honestly, that's every engineer's job, to be efficient and to do it in the cheapest way. And so a lot of my fellow engineers like to say that industrial engineers aren't the real engineers, but yes, we are. We are very much so. That's important. I just threw that joke out there because some of my friends are like mechanical and civil, so they really get their hands dirty. But industrial engineers, you'll see us in roles like project management, consulting. So we're the people kind of behind the scenes. We'll do a little bit of design too, depending on the project. But for example, I am an analyst. Fancy way to say maybe transportation planner. And so I deal with all of the expansion at Chatham Area Transit, and also the progression. So like if we take a route away, if we need to add a route or if we need to extend a route. Right now, we're doing a lot of expansion of our area-based transportation, Chatham area transit into our suburban areas. And so you would think, oh, okay, just drawing a route out on a map, just figure stuff out. Nope, you have to have negotiations with like the county, the city, the state. So learning how to talk with these individuals. Our CPO actually does a little bit more, of course, of that negotiation than I do, or just talking, but just being kind of the liaison if she's not able to do it, or to be on these projects. And I've had the opportunity to sit on the technical coordinating committee for Chatham County through the NPO. And that's a planning, most counties have like planning organizations or boards that literally, what the name is, they plan out the city or they oversee all of the expansion and growth of the city. And so you have these committees or these subcommittees that are endorsing these projects, and you're learning about, okay, for example, our interstate by Savannah is I-16. So like, oh, expansion of I-16 and all these projects you see going up, people are planning years in advance. So we're talking about like 2032, et cetera, and we're only in 2024. So, learning how to plan for the future, that was something that I had to get used to. Every 3 months at CAT, we do something called a board change or a schedule change. And every 3 months, we look at our system. Again, I'm a systems analyst, and we say, okay, this route doesn't have this amount of ridership. This is costing us money. We're taking this route away, or we're pulling some stops away. And you can't just pull a stop. You actually have to have community meetings as well and tell them like, hey, we're going to pull this stop because of X, Y, and Z. What do you all think about that? So just like there's Title IX for like sexual discrimination, et cetera, we have something called Title VI, and we have to make sure that all of our work aligns with Title VI and that everyone has equitable transportation, whether you're disabled. We have to make sure we pass certain amounts of schools and churches and public entities, the Title I schools, are through neighborhoods that are low income. So you have to make sure you have to think about all of these things. You would think it's just okay, drawing this line from here and there, and this is where the bus is going to go. Nope. And this is you have to do it under budget or on or under budget. So it's a lot of that going on.
That's a big one.
I get to cross over. Yes, it's a big one. And again, adults get upset if their money and time is wasted. So keeping that. And like Mr. Greg was saying, certifications, like if you don't, honestly, I learned this after the fact. I probably would have been more strategic about getting my certifications when they were free at Auburn, like Green Belt and Lean Six Sigma, etc. But if you can get your certification, especially for free, or if you can't, if college is out of the question for you, thousands of dollars, that $500 or that $1,000 will probably carry you a little bit more than that 20,000 or that 40K if you go in debt. And I hate not knocking a 4-year degree, but I'm talking for someone that's not in the cards for them. If literally I have project managers making more than me, and I have my 4-year degree, and these are people that just have their PNP or their certification because they're the project manager. They've been
Absolutely
certified to lead a project, and I'm just doing maybe the technical work. And so, now that I'm learning that, changing that. But again, I'm learning things as I go along. Like you think, oh, I have this degree and I have these technical skills. As I'm in this role, example, for some of our supervisors make more than people with degrees here. It just depends on, honestly, when you get older, your job wants to know if you can do the job, or can you do the job that you hired them to do, and can you get it done in a good amount of time, and can you do it for this amount of money, when it's time for you to get your salary. And they don't care, sometimes they don't care if you've gone to a 4, or if you complete a 4-year degree. They just care maybe that you've had some high school or some college. But as long as you have that certification, or you show that you were gaining that knowledge, they will take a chance on you. And they may, you never know, they may pay for you to get your bachelor's or give you some sort of tuition assistance.
big time. Big time.
I always tell people certifications. I just took a course, project management for transit professionals, like a couple of weeks ago. Again, I'm still technically in school and I removed. So if you, like Mr. Greg was saying, if you have that available to you and you have the time to take those courses, or if you can do like some sort of dual degree. Oh, dual degree. I did AP classes, big mistake. Probably should have done dual enrollment because when you're in school, they just say, oh, you can take college classes or oh, you can just stay here. Of course, it's going to sound more appealing to stay at school and just take that AP. No, even if you have to get on the bus, if there's a way you can go to your local community college and take those core classes and get those core classes out of the way, because technically your first semester of college is high school all over again. You're taking English, you're taking PE, because you have to take those core classes. Everybody has a general education track that you have to have out of school, and then you get those out of the way. If I would have done that, I probably would have stayed a year and $45,000 at Southern College because no one tells you that, and no one stresses that. And so yeah, just throwing that out there as well. And then you can already. I had girls that they had associate degrees coming into Spelman because their schools allowed them to do enroll for like those 2 years. So like your 11th grade, sometimes 10th grade year depends. 11th grade and 12th grade year. So if you had that, even if you didn't start your junior year. I'm talking to 11th graders. Start your senior year, anything, so you don't have to kind of like retake something you already knew. It was a lot of kind of like so definitely that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong. Don't let anyone make you feel as though it's because I didn't go to a traditional 4 year college that I am not going to be successful. That is not true at all. I have been interviewed by people that did not graduate from a 4 year institution and they were the director of something, the manager of something. Again, making more than someone with a traditional 4 year degree, and not knocking 4 year degrees at all. But I'm saying there's opportunity in other areas if you play it right, if you're strategic with your moves, if you expose yourself, and if you take advantage of every opportunity.
Yeah, and something you mentioned, I think, and we had a guest earlier this year from the UK that gave this suggestion, and I never thought about this because she said this is what she wished she would have done. She had a degree in psychology, but she said she could have gotten technical certifications while she was doing that and graduated with both, which is a new path a lot of people are doing, and I think companies like that. Now, actually, we're almost out of time, and you answered most of all the questions I had for you. So they'll still get their credit for their questions, but you didn't answer them. But before we go, there's one last thing I wanted to hit on before we go, and I know it's something you're passionate about. Is obviously with it being Black History Month, you have worked a lot in Georgia with getting people registered to vote. Now, I'm not in the business of telling people who to vote for. I don't endorse candidates. I don't endorse parties, and I never will. Because if you're trying to get a political advice from me, you got bigger problems. Because I'm not smart enough to give you good advice anyway. But one thing I am adamant about is, especially, there was a time in this country where women could not vote. There was a time where immigrants could not vote. There was a time where you had to speak English to vote. There was a time when they would do everything they could to keep Black people from voting. And you are very adamant about getting everyone, no matter who you are, a voice and a chance to cast their ballot, no matter what that ballot is. So, one thing I always say, I don't give a flip who anybody votes for, but every single person, once you turn 18, needs to have your butt in a ballot box voting for somebody. And I know that's something you're very passionate about, that you spend a lot of time in Georgia doing. So just talk about why that's so important for everybody as they move into voting age in this country.
Yes, I would say one thing. So, you mentioned that because I actually took a break from working for about 6 months. I was on the Stacey Abrams gubernatorial campaign, changed my life. Very great. I got to not travel too much. I traveled in my region, but not throughout the state. But still, just being behind the scenes of something that large was massive, and it was great. And then you see how local politics plays a role. Honestly, you're thinking it's the president. Like some people say, okay, I only vote for the president. That's the only type of election I'm going to participate in. No, you get to vote for your judges. You get to vote for your sheriffs. You get to vote for magistrate court. Like it's something as small as a ticket, a parking ticket at times, or a violation or citation. You get to vote for your local councilmen, people that are like in your district, like that are over your district and over these areas in your city. And these are the people that are ultimately your advocates that are asking for these instances, this money, this funding, etc. And if you know, for example, that this particular sheriff is maybe not the best sheriff, and maybe he claims favoritism or et cetera, you have the power to vote. that person out or make a change. And I hate when they say young people are not involved with politics. Again, it's social media expansion. I just don't think the young people have been exposed enough to know how much local politics plays a role in their everyday life, in their school. So I always tell an older person that says, "Oh, y'all don't vote anyways," and I was like, "Well, do you wonder why? Because maybe the tactics y'all are using are not enticing to us." Oftentimes, I say the old guard. Mr. Pinkett knows. Did I say it wrong here? Mr. Greg knows what I mean. And sometimes you deal with people that they're trying to stay in this box. And of course, young people bring about change or trying to be outside of the box, et cetera, et cetera. Some people don't really care for that, or they don't like that, or I don't say care for it, they're just apprehensive of it. They're like, And so oftentimes it makes me feel like young people get discouraged because it's like, okay, no one's listening to us. Why should I vote, et cetera, et cetera. No, I would just say just try to band together. Many voices are better than one, and all it takes is one person to start that. So 17 and a half, I missed voting for Obama twice because I turned 18 like a couple of weeks. I'm a December movie, a couple of weeks after his second reelection, but so I wasn't able to be a part of that historical moment, those historical moments. But um, what was I going to say? Just 17 and a half. If you're 17 and a half, you can register to vote. So if your birthday is in December, you can register to vote this June. If you're turning 17, et cetera, et cetera. And I know they probably already maybe start to send stuff to your house and stuff. Pay attention to that. Listen to your city council meetings. Sometimes I didn't start doing that until now, but I've gotten to the point where I don't watch every single one, but I'll maybe click on to hear about what's going on. This is money that's being spent in your city, and these are ordinances that are being passed in your city, and something as small as A, B, X, Y, and Z. Again, change the trajectory of your life and your child's life. So just be mindful of that and know that it's just not one election every 4 years. It's these midterm elections and these elections. It's technically really an election. I know for Savannah every other year. So just be mindful of that. Like we do rotating. So this last year the city was reelected, their city councilman and whatnot. This year it's the county. The county's running all year, and I've been paying attention. Okay, who am I going to support? And also, I would say Miss Savannah gave me an advantage for this, but that actually kind of pushed me a little bit more into politics because you get to go to like these events, you get to meet your local lawmakers and meet your county commissioners and things like that. And I've actually developed, I would say, personal relationships with my commissioners and councilmen, and that's actually very good because you can call them and say, "Hey, I heard about this, or I don't agree with this. What do you suggest I do?" And so you can it's always good to have that connection too. So again, for full circle moment, bring it back to networking, but also you're having that mentorship because they bring you along. I've been brought along to a lot of those things that Mr. Greg sees me at sometimes on social media, or they'll just say, "Oh, I think that you." A lot of people think that I'm going to run for something that is not true here in Savannah, but again, because they see you so much out with these people. So just try to, and they would love to have young people like you shadow them as well. So if you want to call up your local lawmaker and say, "Hey, I'm interested. Can I just learn how it works?" They'll be glad. If it's not them, their staff member or someone will be glad probably to take you around and show you around. And plus, you guys live in Jackson, the capital of Mississippi. Hey, local state rep for our area, can I take a tour of the Capitol? Can I take a tour of your
Absolutely.
office? These
I
are
agree.
people that these are people that work for you, believe it or not. They get paid from taxpayers' money, aka your parents, and they work for you. That's your local lawmaker. You realize they pitch to you or your parents if you're not old enough to vote for them because you hire them. So call them, ask them, email them, cold email, "Hey, I'm a local constituent in your district. I'm a high school student." Some of them will answer back. So yeah, take advantage of it. I would love to have lived in Atlanta and had that. Well, I did for college, but you know what I mean, like growing up and had that experience and just kind of had the state capital at my fingertips. Or the state house,
Well,
I should say. The people's house. There's a reason they call it the people's house.
I know it's a STEM class, but that is something I think is important. Again, I don't care who you
It
vote
is.
for. take your butt in there and vote for somebody. Every single
Yes.
person. Every time there's an
Even if
election,
you
go in there and vote for
don't
somebody. I
know.
don't care who
Yes.
it is. That's really important. So thanks for sharing that. And like I said, we're out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. But Ambria Berksteiner, great Instagram follow. It's Ambria Berksteiner on Instagram.
Yes.
Great stuff, great content.
Operation
So
One Step at a Time as
yeah,
well.
Operation One
Uh,
Step at a Time on Instagram. Great follow. So thanks for joining us all the way from Savannah, Georgia. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And also, if you guys just want to know more about Operation One Step at a Time, my website, www.onestem, all that spelled out, ONESTEM, at a time.org. And it was great talking to you all again this year, as I talked to you all last year. And whenever Mr. Greg wants me, maybe if I'm in Jackson, I've been in Jackson a couple twice. So if I'm here, and I would love to come visit.
We'd love. I'd love to meet you. All right. Well, again, I know you got to get back to work. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you.
See ya.